That's right. I'd like to open the closed session meeting of October 23rd, 2023. It is 5:01 p.m. and I'll ask the city clerk, please call roll.
Councilmember Garner,
Here.
Councilmember Thorpe,
Here.
Councilmember Venable,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Duncan,
Here.
Mayor Beaver.
Here. Moving to public comment. Are there any public comment speaker slips submitted for closed session items?
There are none.
Thank you, ma'am. We will now move into closed session. It is still, or is now 5:02. Good evening. Welcome to the regular City Council Successor Agency and Housing Authority meeting of October 23rd, 2023. The time is 6:02. I apologize for our 2-minute tardiness. Let's see. I would ask that Lieutenant Scoville please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Lieutenant. Madam City Clerk, will you please call roll?
Councilmember Garner,
Here.
Councilmember Thorpe,
Here.
Councilmember Venable,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Duncan, Mayor Beaver.
Here. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. City Attorney, is there anything to report out of closed session?
Thank you, Mayor. We have no reportable action this evening.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to this evening's agenda?
Mr. Mayor, no changes, but just one thing I wanted to announce, just in respect of everyone's time. Items 17 and 18 on tonight's agenda, we expect that those will be continued to the November 13th meeting. Because the public hearings that were already noticed, we had to leave them on the agenda to avoid having to renotice next time. So we'll ask the council to go ahead and open those items and then vote to continue them to the next meeting.
Understood, thank you. Moving on, special presentations. Chief Malinowski, our fire chief, like you to come forward for some certificate presentations?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight I'd like to bring up our CERT program sponsor, which is Captain Donald Collada. So as some may or may not be aware, Fire Department took oversight of the CERT program back in August. Just better aligns with our mission and using those CERT folks for what they're supposed to be used for. And we also have Mike Storzeri and Chris Markarian, our program director and kind of lead trainer. So I'm actually going to hand it over to them. It's their program. I just help them do what they need to do. So Captain Collada.
All right. Hey, thank you very much for having us. Just like Chief Malinowski said, we just recently took over the sponsorship of the CERT program. Just recently, last month, we did some CERT training with some community member volunteers. Those volunteers were with us for 24 hours. They received training in medical triage, search and rescue, and some fire extinguishment, and can help us in the event of any large-scale disaster. So Mike, if you'll come up here, we're gonna go ahead and present the certificates. Go ahead and take that. Crystal Vandepoppy. Thank you for your hard work and your volunteer hours and becoming a CERT member.
And ma'am, the council would love to have a photograph with everybody and their certificates, if that's all right. So if you just want to hang out up here.
Yeah, please remain up here. And
Yeah, just hang out right there and we'll move to the photo in just a moment.
next, we'd like to recognize Leah Lynch. Good job. Thank you for your time. All right, we've got a number of members that aren't here. We got about 10 more people, but they're not here, so we're unable to recognize them tonight. But for this last one, I'd like to invite Chris up. He is our lead trainer, so he'll present this certificate. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. This is someone that was dragged screaming and kicking to this class. It's my daughter, Narine. So she finally finished the class. Instead of being a participant from the LPS class, she was a member, and I'm very proud of her dedication to do these 20 hours over a weekend and get through this class. So congratulations.
Indeed.
Thank you.
All right, and next I'd like to recognize Lauren Wiley. Just real quick, was there any other members that were able to come in and join us? Did we miss anyone from our CERT training? No? All right, thank you for your time.
So the community emergency response team, folks, this is the work you do, and the work you're willing to do is absolutely incredible. We rely on volunteers in law enforcement and fire and every community across the nation to help us achieve the mission, which is public safety. And when you really consider the kind of work that you could be called up for, it's terrifying. It really is. And the fact that you're willing to step up and help out the community to get to a place where when something bad happens, we as a community are going to come together and say, okay, Yucaipa didn't look like this yesterday, and it can't look like this tomorrow. Let's get it done. And that's the work you guys step up to do. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I love this community. It's my home, and I can't thank you enough. So thank you so much. Mayor Pro Tem Duncan, anything?
No, I attended the class a few years back, and I learned a lot. I really appreciate the work that you folks did and put in. My wife and I went through the class, and I really appreciate the program and the instructors, and appreciate the work that you guys did. Thank you.
Councilman Thorpe?
I'll just reiterate what they said. Thank you very much for joining the team. It's good to have you.
Councilman Venable?
Same thing. Thank you for everything you guys do.
Councilman Gardner?
Congratulations. Great job.
We'd love to have a photo with you. If you'd come up here, please.
Yep.
Actually, all CERT members, if you guys want to come up here for the photo as well.
All right, Councilman Thorpe and Venable, Mike, can you step forward and there you go. Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem tuck in. Perfect. All right.
This is an open invitation for anyone interested in CERT. We're still very alive and operational, so thank you for the city manager and the city council and absolutely the mayor's support. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you so much. We'll now move on to our public safety update. The sheriff, Lieutenant Scoville.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Tonight I'll be providing you a presentation on the Yucaipa Police Department Public Safety Report for September of 2023. For the month of September, our deputies responded to 3,789 calls for service, which was actually a decrease of 269 calls from August. The majority of these are going to be due to the Office of Traffic Safety grant funds that we work operations. The funding from that expired after August and will be reinstituted starting the beginning of November. So that kind of accounts for the drop in calls for service. And later in the presentation, you'll see also the citations are down. That's going to be why. For September 2023, there were 40 Part 1 crimes, which was a drop of 22, which is pretty significant from August. We had 1 rape, 2 robberies, 4 aggravated assaults, 11 burglary, 14 thefts, 8 vehicle thefts, and no arsons. And as far as this goes, there's a pretty substantial decrease in the thefts for September. During the month, our deputies wrote 163 traffic citations, investigated 32 traffic collisions, and overall there were 115 arrests. Out of the 115, there were 81 bookings and 34 site releases. Most common arrests, which we get a lot, are narcotics and warrant arrests, shortly followed by weapons and drunken publics. Moving down to the bottom section, you'll see we had a pretty good substantial decrease in traffic citations, which once we get the funding back from the Office of Traffic Safety, we'll start doing the primary collision factors and all the DUI sweeps that we've been doing, which accounts for a lot of the citations. As you can see, in August, we had 15 DUI arrests. September only had 2. Again, because of the operations that were not occurring in September. Our TCs were down by 13, which is a good thing. Our guys are out there writing citations. People see them, causes them to slow down and obey the rules, hopefully, the rules of the road. Our emergency response time actually reduced from 5.5 minutes in August to 5 minutes in September, which is a pretty significant drop, and we always try to get that as low as we can. And that'll conclude this report, if anybody has any questions for me.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Any questions of Lieutenant Scoville?
No?
I think we are, actually, I'll withhold my statements till the end. Thank you, sir. Yep. Chief Malinowski for fire update.
All right, evening again. So for our monthly report for September, we're still having an issue calculating response times. We're working on that. It's a coding issue. But year to date, we're at 6412 on the calls. We did see September slow down quite a bit from August, but that August was the busiest we've ever been, period. So it's the busiest month on record. But calls have increased since last September about 4%. So we're still just always trending upwards on call volume. There's your breakdown for calls, almost 300 calls out of Station 3, which is to be expected. Some of the events we were able to do was our 9/11 ceremony, standby for Autumn Fest, and we also attended the Elks 9/11 ceremony as well, besides our own. We had the CERT training, which we talked about today, and then October is always late September, October. We're starting into fire prevention month, and we start doing a lot of the schools back to school. Start doing the fire prevention outreach with the kids, and really recruiting too. So not a joke. And then we did our Golden Oaks First Responder Appreciation, which was also to feed the needy. So glad we got to take part in that. We'll talk about it later tonight. But Community Chipping Day to reduce our hazard fuel reduction, and some of the storm damage mitigation for the residents was pretty well attended. I don't have like a tonnage or anything, but we were chipping all day there with 2 chippers. A couple significant incidents. We had a freeway, we had a TC extrication, traffic collision with extrication, and also a remote area rescue up in Oak Glen at Los Rios Ranch. Pretty common. Folks get out there, they have an issue, broken leg, something, and pretty common to have a rescue out there. And in September, the folks all went through standardized fire training. So just like Post, we have stuff every year where they have to meet a certain standard, and that's put on by myself, where they have to come out timed events and meet the minimum standard. So all personnel went through that. Also, we've been attending the Civil Review Board with a lot of the folks here. And one thing I wanted to mention to you guys, we are going to have our open house November 4th, 10 to 2 at Station 553, 5th and Wildwood.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions of our fire chief? No? Thank you, sir. Moving on to code enforcement. Mr. Preciado.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Ben Matlock, our Deputy Director in our department and city planner, is unable to be here with us tonight, so I'll be presenting this update for our code enforcement division for the monthly report for the month of September. As you can see, in September, there were 136 new cases that were reported or complaints that were received, and 133 of those cases were validated. And the good news is that almost half, or 59 of those, were resolved before the end of the month. Some of the top cases that were addressed, complaints that were received and addressed were the overgrown vegetations, nuisances, trash and debris, graffiti, and then some complaints related to health and sanitation. With respect to the inspection activity, there was a total of 239 inspections for various cases, 88 total citations that were issued, and $13,083 were received in citation fees for the month. With respect to mobile home parks, there were 3 new cases that were opened related to complaints received in mobile home parks. Chicken ranches, there were a total of 6 inspections that were completed with no outstanding violations. A few updates regarding the activity in the Code Enforcement Division. As council is aware, the unhoused community liaison was hired, which is essentially an additional code enforcement officer to support the city's homeless strategic plan and those related efforts. Also adopted were the vacant building or the vacant property fees, and we continue to make progress with our permit software implementation. The development of the InterGov software has been in progress over the month of September, and we anticipate that continuing over the next few months until we implement that fully. That concludes the report for Code Enforcement Division. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Overall, great presentations by all. Thank you. I think in keeping with our direction of putting public safety at the forefront of all conversations, I think we are about time for another public safety committee meeting to address public safety matters. Certainly, we're in the right direction with our solutions-oriented policing. I am a little bit concerned about that part one crime. I'd like to delve into that a little bit more, but maybe we can schedule another public safety committee meeting in the next couple weeks. Moving on to public comment.
Mayor, for public comment, we did have 2 individuals that spoke at the public hearing last time on the mobile home ordinance item. Today is a continued public hearing, so ordinarily you get to speak at a public hearing one time. And so those individuals were not going to be invited to speak at the public hearing today. However, they're planning on speaking during public comment. My recommendation would be to allow them to speak during the continued public hearing, just so that the comments are all heard at the same time.
Understood.
Mark Westwood and Yucaipa Peabody. They should be in your file.
Okay, so as stated by our city attorney, we will be calling Yucaipa Peabody and Mark Westwood during item number, is it 16?
15, Mayor.
Sorry, 15 for public comment. So, public comment. First up, Joel McCabe, followed by Ms. Kathy Sellers.
Joel McCabe, District 1. Thank you, Council. 3 items, 3 minutes. Item number 1, State of the City. I was in attendance last week at the State of the City. I congratulate the award winners recognized for their accomplishments. The emergency response part of the video was excellent and a great opening piece. Both Mayor Beaver and City Manager Mann spoke to the group with a positive message for our city. Mann stated when he came on, the foundation of the City Hall was in need of repair. It struggled with the nuts and bolts of local government. City Hall was understaffed and not equipped to do their job. Morale was low and residents were looking for action. That action wasn't decided by residents. It was decided by Mayor Beaver, Duncan, and Garner. Lots of repetitive words were used like transparency and morale. I'm still looking for that transparency. The video presented verbalized your confidence of actions or decisions made this year. It felt more like a rally for your own team, looking to gain approval for your radical choices and changes. Item number 2, special meetings. Recent public meetings, the Serrano Estates development and the mobile home homeowners question and answer. I would think the council would like to be a part of these events, but no participation from our council was present. Why? It truly seems like you don't care about listening to the public. I'm a citizen that would like to see your participation in these important events. Item number 3, development. The Yucaipa wine country development will be introduced soon. What people still don't know is how this project lays out. I was one of them. As I stated to Mr. Duncan, I originally thought this plan was rolling hills of grapes and a few wineries that would keep us rural and not involve mass housing. This project encompasses approximately 1,100 acres, 1,098 homes, and multiple micro wineries and tasting rooms. Villas allowing for 4.6 dwellings per acre, wineries and tasting rooms on as little as 2.5 acres, and multiple half-acre properties spread from Oakland Road to Ivy and Fremont East to El Dorado Park. This project will require a lot of changes to the general plan, not to mention mass traffic and a proposed roundabout on Oakland Road, welcoming people to the Yucaipa wine country. If you thought there was backlash on the Serrano Estates, wait until the real news gets out and how it's been designed. I expect future city council meetings to be full of our friends and neighbors. I personally will take my time to get the message out to my neighborhood and the surrounding areas. Please do your homework regarding this project and do what's best for Yucaipa. I'm not against development, guys. I'm for the general plan. I want to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kathy Sellers, followed by Dr. Hanson Wong.
Hello, Kathy Sellers, District 1. Congratulations on a successful and well-attended State of the City presentation. In watching the 28-minute PR video that started off with the devastation experienced during Hurricane Hilary and the awesome response by our emergency teams and public works, it made me wonder why this council is hell-bent on pushing through drastic changes to our general plan that would hinder evacuations in the El Dorado burn scar area that is subject to fire and flooding. Bill and I stood in El Dorado Park last Friday as the sun set and looked out over the ridge and the valley. We had an emotional response to the beauty of it all. We had in hand a printout of the AVA proposed development of numerous wineries and commercialization in density housing, and it was shocking. Again, no one is opposed to rational economic development. What we fear is a major push to entitle more profit and the corresponding need for more emergency services. That is not what our city council and city planners should be supporting. We have so many council and planning commissions. Why have so many council and planning commissions been canceled lately while we keep reading about streamlining development? I watched on Instagram last week a woman warning people from the Los Angeles area to stay away from Yucaipa's pumpkin patch due to hours-long traffic. Is that what we want every day in Yucaipa with winery tourism? Each councilman and Chris Mann touted the new Sunshine Ordinance put in place to improve transparency with the public. Really? Why have we never gotten an answer about the money spent to hire a Los Angeles campaign law firm to sue our citizens? The residents will eventually find out. If it's not taxpayer money being used to protect the targeted council members against a recall, who is funding that attack? Why has this council repeatedly denied us the opportunity to sit down at the table and have a voice in the direction you are leading the city? You have been repeatedly criticized for not listening to a vocal group of people who would like to join in, but instead we are ignored and insulted and left to feel that the only recourse we have was to file a CEQA challenge and launch a recall. This group is much larger than 1% of the population, as stated recently. Why are you all afraid of letting the voting public decide? Bobby Duncan bragging about costing the citizens a ton of money for trying to recall him and continuing to insinuate that Ray Casey was forced to retire for embezzlement is troubling. Mayor Beaver, I respect you for making the statements that by building Yucaipa together and working together, we will reach new heights, that you're damn proud to live here and claiming that City Council is extraordinarily transparent. We do take care of one another. The apparent conflicts of interest between council members and the Planning Commission and city manager, also known as a development entitlement and liaison and Craig Heap's companies, has created an enduring lack of trust between us all. Do your jobs, lead with grace, and fix it. And Justin, congratulations on your new marriage.
Dr. Hanson Wong, followed by Mr. Richard Galvez.
If I could have 30 seconds to say something not in the regular speech. I want to thank our first responders for everything they do. I want to thank the City Council for considering addressing the needs of our Spanish-speaking people. I noticed them in the back at this time, so I want to commend you for that. And then the last thing is a public service announcement. Please attend Make a Difference Day. Now, I'll start my speech. Hanson Wong, 35150 Court Street, Yucaipa, California. So I understand housekeeping and when people come in to make corrections and changes in policies and procedures and so on to make things better. A couple of things to consider, though. One is the difference between an appointed person to a committee or a commission by the city council members and an at-large member, I feel, are different. With respect to, regardless of what people think about individuals, the offices of the mayor, mayor pro tem, and the city council members should be respected, and that if they so choose to put someone on a committee or a commission, that should be their choice and not have to be voted on by the rest of the members, in my mind at least, okay? The at-large, I can see in general vetting, because again, it's just somebody like myself who just came in out of nowhere and applied for the Healthy Yucaipa. The second thing is looking back at the prior way we did things with the commission and the committees, it was sort of a ragtag, and there are different things that were mentioned in the city council and so on. So they want to change that now to make sure that people behave and do what they need to do and so on. But for me, at least, reading through it, it's pretty vague. And so if they're going to use that to say that somebody doesn't belong on a committee, and hopefully not just because they don't like what they say or what they do, then they need to define the processes that would remove them and have due process. Otherwise, just vaguely say they don't belong, we don't like what you say, and so I don't think that's appropriate. The other way of doing it is looking at the individual committees and saying, these are the specific things that would make them not appropriate for the committee, and list them so that people know ahead of time. I can't yell at the chairperson or whatever it is, but I think it should be well-defined, not vague, so that the city council or the city can't be accused of just getting rid of somebody for whatever the purpose. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Richard Galvez.
Hi, City Council. I know you're pretty tired of hearing me over and over about this problem at my house. We're going on 4 years now that I'm dealing with this. I received another letter in the mail from a collection company, Newport Beach, saying that they're going to attach FTB, Franchise Tax Boards, onto this. Last time I was here, you heard me also about Bobby Duncan. For me also, I talked to David. I was told to draw up some as-built drawings. I submitted them 2 weeks ago. 2 days later, I get a phone call from a girl say that David does not want these drawings. I have a copy of my drawings that I did. Chris would understand them because he does construction also. I did as best as I could with my right hand. I still can't use it correctly. November sometime, I'm having surgery on rotator cuff. That's torn in 3 different spots. I'm just getting tired of this. It's going on 4 years, 2 years corrected. All it was is a patio cover. For me, it understands that also on building codes before, you don't need a permit to re-roof a patio. It had 9 layers of roofing on it. When I started, I thought it had maybe 1, and it was a small area. Next thing I know, there's 9 layers, 3,800 pounds of freaking shit that had to come off the roof. Okay, I took care of the problem. If the city Yucaipa needs a permit to pay for something that I did, that's what I was trained to do. In the Marine Corps, they taught me how to repair stuff also. I'm pretty sure if you guys all knew how to repair your own stuff at home, you would do it. especially if it's water going into a place where somebody's living. Back at that time, I had a 16-year-old nephew living with me out of Lake Havasu. He died 4 years ago also. That was fixed after he was done, after he left here to go back to see his mom and died at the river. I was pretty upset, 19 years old, hearing this, and I still had a leaking roof. That's when I turned around and said, I'm going to fix the roof myself. Anything that had to be done after Pamela sent me over 65 letters at that time that I needed to stop all work. I needed to come get a permit. What am I going to get a permit for? Something that's been there since 1970? All I did was replace stuff that was there. Rotted 2x4s, a ledger that was falling off the roof that's what David told me the other day. Oh, you took a ledger off the wall. No shit, dude. It was falling apart. Excuse my language like that, but you know what? I get pissed off. If there's something wrong, I'm going to make it better. I don't want to touch it in 25 years. I'm 62 years old. I shouldn't have to be up on a roof fixing something that 20 years ago my sister bought that house. She had to go back home and live with mom. Mom's 92 years old. Praise her that she's still here. But I took over because my sister says, Greg, can you take over my house for me? Just make the house payment for me. Take care of it. I'm going to be home and taking care of mom. Yes, I will do that, my sister, is what I told my sister.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
And for me, I'm pretty sure did see the drawings.
Thank you. Mr. Preciado.
I will follow up with staff regarding the drawings that were submitted, but I do want to clarify that a re-roof project over a certain size does require a permit, but we'll review the plans and follow up accordingly.
Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda, items 1 through 12. Is there any member of the council that wishes to remove an item from consent for further discussion?
I have questions about, I don't particularly care to remove them, but I do have questions about.
Well, let's remove it until we answer all the questions. What number?
Number 11.
All right. With the exception of number 11, is there a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 10 and 12?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to mayor and council member business reports. Is there? Yeah, I was gonna do that under department reports after the mayor and council member business. All right. Is there any business anybody has to report? No? Okay. So moving on to item number 11. This will be Mr. Preciado and the change order to the 7th Street Park pickleball courts.
Yes, item number 11, the change order is related to, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, the 7th Street Pickleball Court project. This is related to a contract that City Council awarded for the installation of the concrete footings for the steel cover and the installation of the steel cover. In the process of completing the work, the excavating for the footings, we found that on the north side of the facility with the, 2 of the footings, when we were excavating for the footings, we encountered some rock and we were not able to auger any deeper. So that required a change in the footing design where we needed to design a horizontal footing, which required additional concrete and steel, and the additional amount of $21,000 is related to those costs.
Did we have a soils report on that from prior?
We did not do, yes, we have a soils report that was completed after a soil study was done where we did 3 exploratory borings, but the borings that we did not encounter the rock, but the location of those 2 footings on the north side did encounter the rock. And in fact, we used the results of the soil study to redesign the concrete footings that are part of the change order.
I just going through everything and stuff, and on item number 7, we have change order there. Excuse me. Item number 8, we have change order there. I mean, it's constant, and it drives me insane to see change order after change order. I mean, in the contracting world and stuff, you hear that all the time with Yucaipa. And I'd like to see if we can not get there anymore. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, the change orders that are referenced in some of the other items, as you're aware, when City Council awards a contract, staff recommends approval of an additional amount up to 10 or 15% of the contract amount for these unexpected situations. If the change order amount is within that budgeted and approved amount, then the change order is approved by staff. And as you're aware, we typically do encounter unforeseen circumstances in the field. We try our best to limit those change orders, but if there are any changes, we strive to make sure that they're within that additional contingency amount that's approved by council.
And I understand that. I understand we have soils report. I mean, we have soils guys come out and we're doing a 3-foot over X and they don't like the bottom that they see. They want us to go 5 feet more and we're not going to absorb that cost. And we're going to take it to the city. But I just see a lot in the city of Yucaipa since I've been here going through everything. I see a lot of change orders. So I think that if we really address everything and really study things, I think that we can probably eliminate a lot of them.
Understood.
I believe.
Do you want to make a motion to approve the item, or?
Oh, we can make it, yeah, we can approve it. It's already done.
Did you want to make that motion?
I'll make it a motion to approve it.
Is there a second to Councilman Venable's motion?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to item number 13. This is going to be the appointment to the Youth Advisory Committee. Sarah Martinez?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I am here this evening as the staff liaison for the Youth Advisory Committee to recommend the appointments of Jasenia Ramirez and Marissa Ulabari to the committee. As you know, the committee continues to serve as an advisory body to you, the Yucaipa City Council, and the intent is to improve youth involvement in city issues, activities, and provide committee members a roadmap for success. Jasenia and Marissa are being recommended for appointments to the Youth Advisory Committee for a 2-year appointment effective today through September 1st, 2025. There is no fiscal impact as a result of this action. The committee will also continue to recruit for the opening positions still remaining. First, it is my honor to introduce Ms. Yesenia. She has served on the Youth Advisory Committee from February 2021 until her term expired in September 1st of this year. She is currently a sophomore at Yucaipa High School with a solid 4.0 GPA. Jasenia is described by her fellow Youth Advisory Committee members, as well as myself, as respectful, hardworking, and kind. She is on the YHS Student Council, a member of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, a member of the Interact Club, and is on the tennis team, which just wrapped up their season. The committee is excited to recommend her reappointment. So at this time, I introduce and invite Jasenia to say a few words, after which it will be my pleasure to introduce Marissa.
Hi, my name is Jasenia Ramirez, and I would like to continue my journey with the Youth Advisory Committee. I love to be involved with the community and to give back to Yucaipa. From the committee, I strengthened my leadership skills and learned about many different occupations. I also received advice from professionals that gave me insight on what I want to accomplish when I grow up. Being on the committee helped me to understand how a community works together and what process goes into making decisions. More importantly, being on the committee has taught me skills and lessons about life. Finally, working towards benefiting and supporting the youth is something I am passionate about and is why I am interested in contributing my time and skills to the Youth Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Jasenia. So next, it is also my pleasure to introduce Marissa. She is currently a junior at Yucaipa High School with an impressive 4.1 GPA. She is a member of the YHS Pilot Program for Mental Health, is a member of the HBS Leadership, was on the swim team for her first 2 years of high school, and volunteers at her church. The committee and I have no doubt that she will be a great fit for the committee and will make a positive impact in the Yucaipa community. So at this time, I invite Marissa to say a few words, after which we'll conclude our presentation, and city staff are available for questions.
Good evening. I want to start off by thanking the Yucaipa City Council and YC for allowing me the opportunity to join them in serving the community. I applied to be able to take part in decisions and create opportunities for my fellow peers to get involved in. I usually avoid public speaking, whether it be standing in front of my class and giving a presentation or voicing my opinions to others. By joining this committee, I hope to refine my public speaking skills and make a difference in the lives of Yucaipa youth. I also hope to be able to make connections with other teens like myself and let them know that they are capable of achieving great things. I look forward to collaborating with a diverse group of individuals and sharing my valuable experiences and input to serve the next generation of leaders. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you. Are there any questions pertaining to Jasenia, Marissa, or the Youth Advisory Committee?
Questions of staff? Is your families here? You should be extraordinarily proud of their hard work and their commitment to our community. Thank you for raising, I discourage people from saying raising kids, because kids are kids. It's inherent. Doesn't take a lot of raising for kids. You're raising adults and you're doing a great job. Thank you for everything that you're doing to help our community by raising such responsible young adults. Absolutely impressive. I think you're both bound for strong leadership positions as you grow. I think you knocked out public speaking out of the park on this one. Keep it up. Keep learning. Sometimes it's a little bit anxiety ridden. I get it, especially when there's lots of people out there. But you did great. I would like to enthusiastically motion approval for both. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Venable. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. Can we get a picture with you
Yes.
both? You can be by your staff. There we go. All right.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I just want to let you guys know that I sit on their board with them all, and what a fantastic group. I think Hanson is around here somewhere. I think he's been in our meetings quite a bit and stuff, and they're just what a blessing these kids are to us. Christine's been in our meetings before and stuff that she's seen everything, and I just I'm honored to be a part of your guys' group, and I thank you guys.
How many vacancies do we have, Sarah?
Thank you. So we currently have 7. At the time that the agenda went to print, I believe we have, since then, we have received 1 more resignation. One of our amazing students has gone off to college and had to resign. So we are currently, with the 6 appointments, the 2 you made tonight, we have 7 remaining vacancies.
All right, let's get them filled. Truly phenomenal, so thank you again. All right, moving on to department reports. Item number 14, presented by Chief Malinowski, funding agreement with Inland Empire Resource Conservation District.
Mayor and Council, so the agenda item before you tonight could have easily have gone to consent, but after talking to the city manager and myself, we felt that it'd be best to highlight just some of the ongoing efforts we have to provide hazard fuel reduction and community wildfire resiliency here in the city of Yucaipa and our surrounding community. So what you have before you is about a year of work for us to get funding to receive $100,000 that will be applied to a permanent large wood chipper here that we can go do community curbside chipping and other resource management fuel reduction projects. So short and sweet, I think it's a no-brainer, and that's all I have for you unless you have any questions.
No, I think certainly you mentioned it in the State of the City video. Living where we do comes with amazing views, prompts some outstanding homegrown photographers to capture some of the most impressive photographs I've ever seen of our beautiful Green Valley. But with that, we have fire fuel, we have natural hazards, and this is another example of how our fire department is doing everything they can, thinking outside the box and finding creative ways to mitigate that hazard so that we can continue living in what some might call a dangerous place, but we make it work. This is our home. Is there a motion to approve?
I have a question.
I'll make a motion.
I have a question. Is this the same organization that was planning to build their office there on Bryant, where we leveled off that pad and we were going to either lease or sell that pad to them for construction of their office?
Yes, that's the same organization that we were having those discussions with a few years ago.
Is there still plans to do that?
They haven't had any traction on their side for that, but we still work with them a lot as it relates to our other conservation easements and mitigation areas.
I move approval.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Duncan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Thorpe. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. All right. So at this time, we will move on to item number 15. I will pass the mic to Mayor Pro Tem Duncan as I need to recuse myself due to a family member having ownership of a coach in one of the involved parks. So I will recuse.
Are these the two speakers?
Public speakers, announce the time when you open. There you go.
At this time, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on item number 15. As was stated earlier, that this item was on our September 25th agenda. It was pushed to this date because of some uncertainties. And the folks that spoke publicly there for this item at that meeting are not allowed to speak at this meeting. I have two publics, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Mayor Pro Tem, the council earlier decided to allow all those who wanted to speak on this item to speak.
Okay, my apologies. And I have two speakers for this at the appropriate time. I just want to make sure I get those in there, but go ahead.
Thank you and good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Duncan and City Council members. On behalf of the City of Yucaipa, I present item number 15, case number 21-165, a development code amendment which was continued from the regular City Council meeting of September 25th. This is for the consideration of ordinance number 429, proposing amendments to streamline the mobile home park conversion review process that was initially developed as a part of ordinance number 344 in 2016. For context, ordinance number 344 was established in 2016 to implement the Mobile Home Park 3, or MHP3 land use district overlay identified during the 2016 City General Plan update process. The MHP3 overlay includes 7 parks that were surveyed and identified in 2016 as being eligible for potential conversion and the establishment of a new project with 16 to 24 dwelling units per acre if and only if that private property owner was 1, interested in converting their park, and 2, would comply with all requirements of the mobile home conversion process outlined in the ordinance. The 7 parks included in MHP3 are Westwind, Mountain View, Melody Lane, Hideaway, Hitching Post, Las Casitas, and Holiday Mobile Rancho. So the 6th cycle housing element, we've talked about this in a couple meetings past, was adopted last year and identifies programs and policies to help streamline housing opportunity to meet our city's RHNA. Program number 8, which is the subject of today's presentation, was specifically identified to amend Ordinance 344 to allow the by right review of a mobile home conversion permit that proposes up to 24 dwelling units per acre and remove the development opportunity reserve that could allow 24 dwelling units per acre with city council pre-approval anyways. This update removes the subjectivity of density from the potential conversion process and is in line with SB 330 and state law. I want to reiterate that Ordinance 429 presented today does not invalidate any of the conversion permit process requirements or criteria that were previously established through the initial ordinance, but rather recognizes the previously allowed 24 dwelling units per acre through City Council pre-approval as a by right component of a potential future mobile home park conversion. This is to simplify and streamline the process if ever pursued by a private property owner, and a land use compliance review and architectural review for design per the city's high-density residential RM24 guidelines would become the applicable planning permit applications as opposed to a CUP. The ordinance was presented at the regular Planning Commission meeting of September 6th. Based on commissioner discussions, staff confirmed that the current update would not revise or change the existing ordinance established through 344. This would include the submittal and requirement for city approval of relocation impact reports and relocation plans. The Planning Commission recommended the ordinance to council for approval, noting that the update is consistent with the general plan housing element program number 8, and that all existing provisions to protect current tenants, including the relocation impact report and relocation plans, would remain in effect. An excerpt from the original ordinance has been added to our website, highlighting the relocation impact report and relocation plan requirements that would be enforced and validated by city staff and other professionals to ensure that existing tenants are protected if a conversion application was ever submitted down the road. On September 21st, a private Yucaipa citizen hosted a town hall meeting to facilitate discussion with the public and staff related to the update and the proposed minor changes associated with Ordinance 429. Staff reaffirmed that the original ordinance requirements remain in effect and that the mobile home conversion process is a completely voluntary process by mobile home park 3 overlay park owners. It is not city initiated, and the conversion process has been in place for the last 7 years, and there has been no interest in conversion thus far. Based on the public hearing discussion from the last meeting, the item was continued to allow staff more time to provide some additional outreach information and resources. These are included as attachment 4 in the current agenda packet to both English and Spanish-speaking residents of our community. Some of the outreach efforts included adding information to a page on the city's website that included the following: the council staff report in both English and Spanish versions, an informational flyer titled Clarifying Concerns Related to Mobile Home Parks in both Spanish and English versions to dispel rumors regarding the current proposal, and a link to the Mobile Home Park Overlay GIS map. The informational flyer that was created included a notice for a community meeting that was held on 10/17 last Tuesday, as well as a QR code link to the city website page. The flyer was also mailed to all residents located within the 7 MHP3 designated parks, as well as advertised in different platforms, including the Yucaipa Calamasa News Mirror, Yucaipa Bulletin, Yucaipa Mobile Home Residents Association, the Manufactured Housing Educational Trust, and the Western Manufactured Housing Communities Association. On 10/17, a community meeting was facilitated in both English and Spanish, as well as live streamed on YouTube to further address concerns and clarify the proposed updates to the original ordinance number 344. So that concludes my presentation, and I'll hand it off to Fermin Preciado, who was present at the meeting last week.
Thank you, Maddie. Regarding the community meeting that was held on October 17th, it was very well participated. We had a lot of residents attend the meeting. Many of those were Spanish-speaking residents, and as Maddie mentioned, we provided a lot of information through the outreach materials prior to the meeting, but also in the meeting, and we did have a lot of good questions that came up. I would like to point out that a lot of the questions that were received at the meeting in Spanish were specifically related to the relocation impact report and the relocation plan that would be required if a park owner decided to convert one of those mobile home parks. A lot of the questions were related to the details that are the requirements in that relocation plan, and as a result of that, we did provide an excerpt of the relocation plan requirements to some of the attendees, and we also included it in the city's website, and we will move forward and translate that excerpt to Spanish. That is one document that was not provided prior to the meeting to the residents, And I would also like to point out that many of the specific questions that the Spanish-speaking residents asked were related to the details in that plan or the requirements in a relocation plan, but more specifically to their individual situation and their individual agreements with the park owners. I did speak with some of them after the meeting and reiterated that is a I'll use the term a civil matter between them and the park owner, but the city is able to provide them with at least the availability of information and resources that are out there for them in case they have any questions specific to their arrangement or mobile home laws in the state of California. I do feel that it was important to mention that. And then also I would like to point out that in the community meeting room behind us, the city did provide a certified translator for those Spanish-speaking residents that are back there. That translator is translating everything that has been provided for this item, as well as the rest of the meeting, and including any other discussion that may be had here tonight. And as of right now, at least as of a few minutes ago, we did not have any requests to speak from those Spanish-speaking residents in the back, so they may choose to speak just to let the Mayor Pro Tem and the council know. And that concludes our report. The recommendation for this item is on the screen before you, that the City Council conduct a public hearing, and again, staff is available for any questions you might have. Thank you.
Are there any questions of staff about this item? Are you comfortable or sure that the folks that had the concerns that were here at the last meeting, that they are satisfied with the understanding of what this actually is and not necessarily what some have said that it might be?
We had a lot of questions in a community meeting, and we provided them with the information with what is the subject of this item tonight. And I feel that they were, at least the ones that were in attendance, understand that. Again, but their questions were related to what I mentioned earlier. So to answer your question, I believe that the residents that were here in attendance, the majority of them do, and the ones that I did speak with personally after the meeting, the answer is yes.
Okay, good, thank you.
I did receive 2 phone calls last Wednesday as well, too, with some clarifying questions of residents that were unable to attend, and they were both very receptive and appreciative to the information that I was providing.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, there is no applicant presentation at this particular hearing. Now we're public comments. Mark Westwood, you're up.
Thank you, Madeline. Mark Westwood, 31816 Avenue E, space 28. That's Crafton Hills Mobile Estates. First of all, it does my heart good. And one good thing that came out of all this is that we have a Spanish interpreter in the back, and the Spanish people are being informed well. I also want to say that nobody, including me, made rumors or anything like that that said bad things were happening. We all had questions and concerns. And I thank Jennifer and Attorney Graham and everybody that has addressed this and given us the time to speak. And I got to tell you that we do have a problem, and that is affordable housing. And California has the most prosperous economy in the United States, ranks above many countries worldwide. However, the success has also created a large housing shortage, skyrocketing mortgages, rents, and the 3rd highest homeless rate in the nation, 1,300,000 shortages of houses. And where's the most expensive place to live in the U.S.? You might be surprised. It's San Diego now. But nearby Yucaipa should not be the only answer to all this. And I'm really, really concerned about Ordinance 429 and that we do it right and that the people aren't made homeless by this. I know there's nobody currently applying as an applicant to do this, but they have very lucrative properties when this is passed, and they could sell that property to another developer, and that developer could most certainly, through 5 or 6 years and through weeding out tenants and residents and park residents, clear the path to develop this. This is a problem all over the country and all over the state. But the good news is the problem hasn't fallen on deaf ears, and this is what happened on Thursday last week. California Governor Newsom signed a record whopping 56 housing bills all at the same time, designed to be aggressive measures to tackle the state's housing crisis. These bills specifically aim to protect tenants, worker rights, streamline cities, housing and approval processes, and rezone land owned by religious and nonprofit colleges. It helps property owners, it helps residents, but it can also make your actions tonight a moot issue, by the way. But, you know, we don't want to have fair housing problems or violations or civil lawsuits, so we got to be careful the way we step. Among these new laws, a law that establishes penalties for CEQA abuse, allowing affordable accessory dwelling unit, ADU condos, their separate sales. They can sell these now separately and expand density bonuses, which give developers the ability to increase density above the maximum allowed in the municipality's general plan. Happened at the state level before you got to 429. It's already happening. Again, tonight's actions could just be a mood issue, but you should find out first. It's tough to figure it all out. There's 56 different bills signed by the governor, all complicated. You think, you know, that 30-page document on, you know, the ordinance is complicated. Wait till you get to those things too. So it'd be wise in the last 4 days, take a breath, wait for a while, let the dust settle, revisit this later. As we all know, it's tough without a detailed analysis.
Thank you, Mark.
I
We
encourage you,
appreciate your comments, sir.
yeah, I
Thank you.
encourage you to once again put this on the table and vote on it later. Thank you. Save the citizens.
Next is Joeva? Did I say that right? Okay, good. Joeva Peabody, you're up next.
Before you start my time running, I put a slip in to speak in the general forum and was not called. I just want to get those in after I do my Agenda 15 item. Nobody called my name to come up to speak, and I had turned a slip in for this and general forum. So to address the agenda item 15, I apologize if this was addressed on Thursday. I just learned about that 5:30 tonight, or I would have been there.
Are we starting now?
Yes, sir. Start now. At what point does 429 trigger notice to residents? At the time of a formal written interest or verbal interest to purchase? At the time of sale? At what point do mobile home tenants owners get first notice that there is interest in purchasing the land on which they live? I spent a lot of time researching the current Yucaipa housing element, California MRL, Ordinance 429, the 83 and 85 codes. Have not been able to find a definitive starting point of notice to residents. Where can I find the exact starting point of when that triggers and when notice is to be given to the residents or owners for a potential property sale? Number 2, it was stated at the last meeting that an investor must buy everyone's coach at market value. Where does it say that in the Yucaipa housing element 429, 344, or other law or the MRL? I am unable to locate where it says that. There are a lot of relocation provisions of owned mobile homes if those mobiles cannot be relocated, but I am not finding that an investor or buyer must purchase a mobile home at market value. Where can I find that provision that they must buy it? Number 3, a comment. I still object to the change of making Ordinance 429 and the 344 addendum exempt from environmental review. There are too many changes may have happened since this ordinance was enacted and still can happen. Earthquakes, fire, mud, water runoff, rain, and flooding to not have that done. Not to mention how that would affect surrounding areas, homes, land, and businesses. Why would you not want to have that done? And I still have not received my responses to my questions from last meeting. May I do my other ones? Do I still have time? Since I didn't get called
Got a minute
earlier?
and 17 seconds to go.
But I didn't get called at the individual forum.
If I can make a recommendation, I'd recommend concluding the public hearing on this item and then calling Ms. Peabody back up after this item is concluded so she can give her public comments on whatever other public comment items she wanted to give her comments on.
Okay.
We did locate
Okay.
her slip. It was over here at the city clerk's desk.
Okay,
So I would say call her back up later.
okay. So Beaver will do that, or I'll do that?
The mayor will do that.
Beaver, okay.
I'll
Mayor
remind
will
him when he comes
okay.
out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there is no applicant rebuttal, right? So I guess we'll close the public hearing. And it's up to you guys to offer your discussion at this time. Anybody?
No, I got nothing.
No? You're good? So, as I said before, I'm the only one up here that was part of this initial study, I guess it was. We rented a bus and we drove around to 7 parks and we looked at the parks and concluded that those parks were so run down that we wanted to provide the property owner at least an opportunity to try to upgrade the property with a different plan. As I said last time that I ran the meeting, this is never going to happen. I mean, the ordinance that we wrote and that we approved basically said that a property owner, if they want to perhaps build apartments instead of having mobile homes, then they have to notify the park, the coach owner. They've got to buy the coach. They've got to move the coach out, which is $4,000 just to move one out. They've got to find suitable and comparable accommodations for the owner. They've got to pay the owner, the coach owner. The cost to do this, even though it was a good idea, I think, to try to offer that to the landowner, the cost to do this is so high, it's never going to happen. I said it last time. This is never going to happen. And again, mobile home parks are a vital part of our housing element, our affordable housing element. When I got elected in 2012, I had a different attitude toward our rent ordinance. I didn't agree with governing how much a person could charge for rent. But as I got to know the YMRA and the widows that couldn't afford a rent increase and other folks that were living there, I changed my attitude toward the rent ordinance. And I think it's a good rent ordinance, and I support it 100%. So I think people have been either misled about this or that they just don't understand it. And I hope everyone does understand it. But this, all we're doing is just complying, taking this ordinance and making it compatible with our housing element, which is we have to do by state law. So all that being said, do I have a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second it.
Have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Go ahead and notify the mayor that he's back up. He's eating a burrito.
Mayor? Sir. I just wanted to make a brief comment if I could. Welcome back. Ms. Peabody did indicate that the other public comment that she wanted to give has been provided in written form to the city, so we've given a copy to the clerk. It'll be entered in the record, and we'll make sure all of you get a copy of that as well. I know you don't know what I'm talking about because you weren't here.
Okay. Do we have another public comment that you're going to give us?
That's it.
Okay. We're moving on then? All right. Moving on to item number 16. I will open this public hearing for the City of Yucaipa, ordinance number 431. This is going to be Mr. Preciado. Are you giving this presentation?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
All right, let me announce the time. I guess the time is 7:11 p.m. for this public hearing. All right, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, and good evening again, Mayor and council members. Senate Bill 9, or SB 9, as you're aware, is a new housing law that was signed into law back in September of 2021, and it became effective on January 1 of 2022. This bill, it applies to parcels within the city and parcels that are designated by the U.S. Census Bureau as urbanized areas or urban clusters. The bill requires urban lot splits or second residential units on a single lots within a residential zoned area. It allows them to be considered ministerially by staff without the review of a planning commission. SB 9 also allows cities to impose certain requirements or standards for these types of developments as long as they don't preclude the construction of 2 units on the subdivided parcels or 2 units with at least 800 square feet of floor space. SB 9 also requires units developed under these regulations to be rented for more than 30 consecutive days, and with the owner occupying one of the units for at least 3 years. A little bit of history on this. Due to the short time period between when SB 9 was signed into law at its effective date, an urgency ordinance was approved by the City Council on December 13th of 2021. That urgency ordinance provided the city with local control to the extent feasible between when the state law became effective and a formal ordinance could be prepared, adopted, and ultimately implemented by the City Council. Ordinance 405U and Ordinance 418U were subsequently adopted by the City Council, allowing the extension of that urgency ordinance to allow the city the ample time to adopt the formal ordinance, which is where we are at today. The proposed ordinance number 431 before you tonight is that formal ordinance, and it is consistent with SB 9 and the already adopted urgency ordinances. This ordinance includes those objective design standards and those requirements to add a quality control measure while being consistent with state law. No formal building or development applications for these urban lot splits or a second unit per SB 9 have been received by the city to date. However, there are a handful of homeowners and builders that have inquired about the SB 9 and these standards and requirements, and they found that the interim design standards and the ones that are part of the ordinance tonight, they found those to be reasonable. But I would like to reiterate that to date, in the almost year and a half since SB 9 has been in effect, the city has not received a formal application for an urban lot split or that second unit on a parcel. So the recommendation before you tonight is that City Council conduct the public hearing, approve first reading by title only as read by staff of ordinance number 431 that will regulate the development of two-unit residential developments or urban lot splits for single-family designated lots in accordance with SB 9, and find that the ordinance is exempt from environmental review as state law includes a provision that explicitly states that an ordinance to implement Senate Bill 9 shall not be considered a project under the CEQA, and therefore is not subject to environmental review. Further, future projects completed under SB 9 would be a ministerial action and exempt from CEQA, and under the general rule, the SB 9 preempts any city regulations that are not in place. That concludes the presentation. Staff is available for questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to, there's no applicant or representative, correct? We're there, okay. Public comment. I don't see any up here, but is there any received? No public comment. I will close the public hearing. It is now 7:15 p.m. Council discussion.
Can I ask a question of staff at this point?
Yes, sir.
So is this saying that if you have a lot and you have a house on the lot that you own, and you can actually do a lot split and create a separate APN, that you could sell off half the property and not go through the normal procedures with the county or with the city?
Yes, under there are certain criteria and requirements that need to be met, but essentially that is one of the two things that SB 9 allows.
So you could take a quarter-acre lot, 10,000 square feet, 12,000 square feet, and create a flag lot and put a house in the back and provide a driveway down one side or the other and have two separate APNs and sell off half your lot?
As part of the ordinance, there is specific language there that does not permit flag lots. Another criteria is that the lot that you're creating needs to be at least 40% of the size of the larger parcel. So there are certain design criteria and standards that are included that, as I mentioned, will provide a certain amount of quality control to as we review these applications.
Wow.
And if I heard you correctly, the applicant for that or the person seeking to do the lot split has to own the property for 3 years prior to being able to do that. Is that accurate?
If they choose to rent the unit, then yes, it has to be, the rental has to be for more than 30 days, and they have to live there at least 3 years.
They have to own it, and so they buy so it says if someone buys a house in Yucaipa and they're wanting to build a house and split it and sell the house, maybe sell both houses, they can do it. They have to own it for 3 years before they can do that?
The 3 years is if you're building a second unit on one lot. There's two different components to this. One is an urban lot split, and the other one is to allow a second residential dwelling on one lot.
So are you able to do this at Chapman Heights with the right size lot?
I think those are too small, aren't they?
Well, there's some lots that are pretty big.
I think
It's got
those are,
HOA.
I think those are too small, and again, the criteria that is included in the ordinance, it's meant for the larger parcels.
And this is state law.
Yes.
We're just complying with what the state has mandated in an effort to create more houses to accommodate the housing shortage.
Yes.
What's the minimum lot size?
There's no minimum lot size. It would be 40% of whatever the existing lot configuration is. So if you had a 10,000 square foot lot, the minimum would be 4,000. By nature of SB 9, like because of existing property sizes and the necessary space in order to accommodate an actual dwelling unit, we haven't seen any applications submitted within the city of Yucaipa yet at this point in the planning department, just because of necessary space needed to accommodate the improvements, garages, et cetera, these things that are standard.
Okay.
So does this, would this have to come to city council or to planning commission?
Ministerial.
It's just,
So if we didn't adopt something at the city level, then we would have to fall back on whatever state law requires. And that gives less opportunity to control things like design guidelines, objective standards that we can have checks and balances for. So it gives us a little bit more opportunity for requiring architectural design enhancements, things like that. Otherwise, it would be even more streamlined.
Yes, and by not adopting this ordinance, we would, as Maddie mentioned, we would defer to state law, and that doesn't have as many design, it doesn't have the design criteria and the other requirements that we are proposing as part of this ordinance that has more restrictions.
So we're gonna write our own ordinance, or we're gonna adopt our own ordinance that gives us more latitude as to what we want in our city, as opposed to not having the ordinance and letting the state decide what they want and let them dictate what goes on here in
Correct.
Yucaipa.
Correct.
Yeah. I move approval.
There's a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Duncan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Thorpe. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to item number 17. I will open the public hearing on item number 17. And Mr. City Manager, this is the one you'd like a motion to continue, correct?
Yes, please.
As well as 18?
correct.
Okay. I'll motion that we continue this public hearing for item number 17 to the regular city council meeting of November 13th, 2023. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Open public hearing on item number 18. And I will motion that we move the public hearing at staff's recommendation to the regular city council meeting of November 13th, 2023. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion we do that.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Duncan, seconded by Councilman Venable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Announcements. Be safe next Tuesday. Watch your little ones. Stay in well-lit areas. And have a happy and safe Halloween. Anybody else have announcements to make?
No, I have a question though for me. Are we in our city yard yet, the new one, facility?
We've moved a lot of them stuff over there right now. The contractor's underway with the work that is included in the contract that was awarded by City Council at the last meeting, and that was the the concrete, all the flat work and asphalt and all that. So once that's done, then we can officially move in there. But as I mentioned, for now, we are using the building for storage, but.
Do we have power there?
Monday the 30th.
Okay. So we're getting close.
Yes.
All right. I just keep on hounding you about it and stuff, and
Thank you.
Yep.
I just want to commend, again, I've sent text to some of the staff members and commend Megan and her Community Services Department, all that were involved in the planning of the Five Winds Music Festival. I'm not sure you had a chance to attend that. I attended Friday and Saturday. It was an outstanding event. Couldn't ask for a better event. We had no problems, except one person I knew fell down and busted his knee, but that's a whole different issue. But it was great, and we really appreciate the work that you did there.
All right. If there's no further announcements,
I got a question.
there are. Go ahead.
Sorry. Earlier, it was mentioned that Make a Difference Day was coming up. That's the 28th, isn't it, of October?
Make a Difference Day?
Yes, Make a Difference Day is the 4th Saturday in October, so it's next.
So maybe it was just me, maybe I missed it, but according to our calendar on our website, it says the venue is to be determined. Have we put that out to anybody, where it's going to be, what's going on with it, in case people want to get involved? Because I know we put out something, the mayor put out something earlier in the summer asking public for input.
Yes, you can contact the Community Services Department. We do have 7 sites that have projects this year. One of the project sites that needs more volunteers is the Five Winds Ranch. They'll be doing a few items there, and you can report up at 8 a.m. at Five Winds Ranch. They do have volunteers. I think Christine's in the audience, and she can nod her head that they have a lot of volunteers, but we can always use more there because there's a lot of work there. And then the second site that is asking for more volunteers is Valley Elementary School.
Thank you, appreciate it. That's all I got.
I think we have a turkey trot coming up too. So that is on Thanksgiving Day, I believe. And so you can get your run on before you get your...
You try to eat your Thanksgiving dinner before the turkey trot, you're gonna have that tryptophan coma. It's gonna have a hard time and be sleeping. Let's get out in the morning and get it done. Very well. I will adjourn the regular city council meeting of Yucaipa. Thanks for coming. Thanks for participating.